All right, welcome to your first lesson of scale mastery, where we are going to learn how to build the major scale. Now, the first most important thing we need to know before we actually build a scale is about concepts called whole steps and half steps. Now, you will want to have a pen and paper with you so you can follow along. I highly encourage it, and it's the best way to learn. But let's first dive into our whole steps and our half steps, because those are the building blocks of all of our scales. So real quick, we'll just learn the difference. A half step on the piano is when you move from a note to the next possible note, whether that's black or white. So if I were on the note C, for example, a half step would take me to C sharp. Another half step would take me to D. As you can see, we're going to the next possible tone on the piano. Now, this can also occur between two white notes, like between E and F, because there's no other tone in between. So these are all examples of half steps. The next possible note on the piano. We'll also see two white notes together here between B and C are half steps. Now, a whole step is when you skip a single tone, a single key, whether that's black or white, or just think of it as two half steps combined. So if I'm on C and I wanted to move up a whole step, well, here's my half step, here's another half step. So C to D would be a whole step because we've skipped this single tone right there in between. D to E would be a whole step. E to F sharp would be a whole step because we've skipped that single key there. So that's the difference between a whole step and a half step. Now that you know that, we can start building our first scale. So when we build scales, here's how I like to do it. Please follow along with your pen and paper so you can best understand it. We're going to write the numbers 1 through 8 on a horizontal axis just like this. We are doing this because scales contain 8 notes, with the first and the 8th actually being the same, but we like to think of it as 8 notes. Now, how we get from each note to the next will follow a formula of whole steps and half steps. This is a predetermined and pre-created formula, so I'm not making it up. This is the major scale formula anytime you want to build a major scale. Now, when I'm showing you a whole step, I will write the letter W. When I'm showing you a half step, I will write the letter H. So between our first and our second note, I like to draw a little up arrow like that, showing we're going from our first to our second. It's a whole step. So W. From our second to our third, we also use a whole step. From our third to our fourth, we use a half step. So I will write an H. From our fourth to our fifth, we need a whole step. So we write a W. From our fifth to our sixth, we need another whole step, so I write a W. From our 6th to our 7th, we need another whole step, so we write a W. And from our 7th to our 8th, we need a half step, so we write an H. So there is our major scale formula. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So anytime you want to build a major scale, as we will do in all the lessons in this course, or not all the lessons, but in all the major scales, we will use this exact formula. So get comfortable writing it out. Now, in this lesson specifically, we're going to learn the C scale. There's a reason why you do the C scale first, and it will make more sense as we go forward, and I will explain it after we build the scale. So let's build a C scale. So the first thing we want to do is put a C underneath the number 1, because that is the first note of our scale, which we will call the root note of our scale. And because we are following this major scale formula, we will be building a C major scale. C is note 1, major scale formula puts it into a major scale, and now we can follow it and find out the rest of the notes in the scale. So we start out at C, and now to figure out what note number 2 is, we just follow our formula. So the first thing it's telling us is to get from our first note to our second note, we need a whole step. Well, here's C, so if we go up a whole step, that will take us to D. So D will be note number 2. So I'm going to write that in underneath note number 2. Now to get from our second to our third note, we need another whole step. So we're on D, and we need a whole step to get up to the third note. That will take us to E. So now we have our first 3 notes of our scale. Now from our third note to our fourth note, we need a half step. So we're on E, and we only need a half step. So that would just take us right next door to the note F. So F will be the 4th note in our scale. After the 4th note, to get to our 5th note, we need another whole step. So 4th note F, we need a whole step. That would skip this one. There's our half step. There's another half step. So there's our whole step. Takes us to the note G. G will be the 5th note of our scale. Now we just have a few more, and if you're getting the hang of this and you want to speed ahead and finish the rest of it, feel free. But from our 5th to our 6th, we need another whole step, so we're on G. We go up a whole step. That takes us to A. From our 6th note to our 7th note, we need another whole step. So 6 to 7, whole step. On A, go up a whole step. That takes us to B. And finally, at the very end, we need a half step to get from our 7th note to our 8th and kind of back to our 1st. So half step takes us right to C. So that's how you should know you've done your scale correctly when your 1st and your 8th are the exact same. So there is our C major scale. We start on C, and it goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So now that we have this, I'm going to put this aside, and we can actually look at now how we learn to play our scale. So here are the notes. There is our C major scale, as a lot of people know it. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do is another way that some people can think about this. So now that we have our scale, let's actually learn how to play our scales. Playing scales is an extremely important thing to help you develop technique, hand independence, and just to get more familiar with all your scales. So we'll first look at the right hand playing the scale. We will then look at the left hand, and then we'll look at how we do both together. Now, the cool thing with scales is the finger patterns that we're learning to play the C major scale will actually work for a lot of our other scales as well. So you won't need to relearn too many different fingerings. This one will work for many of our following scales. So with our right hand, we set up our thumb on C in a 5-finger position, which means 5 fingers next to each other, C, D, E, F, G. Now what we do, we play C with our thumb, D with our 2nd finger, our pointer finger here, E with our middle finger here. Now, we still have 5 more notes left in the scale, so we don't want to use these 2 fingers. What we're actually going to do is tuck our thumb underneath. So my thumb is going to travel underneath my hand. And what I also like to do, a good technique thing, is to actually turn your hand a little bit out to the side. This will give it space. We just need it to get to F there. Once my thumb plays the F, my hand should unfold into a new 5-finger position so that all 5 of my fingers are lined up. And then I can just play the rest of the notes just like this. And I've reached the top of the scale. So let's look at that one more time. We start here. We play our first 3 fingers. We turn our hand to the side and tuck our thumb, untuck our hand. And now we have our C major scale going up in our right hand. When we go backwards, it's actually just going to be the exact reverse of what we did. So we start with our pinky up here on C, work our way down 1 finger at a time. We play all of our fingers until we get to our thumb. Once our thumb hits F, we now bring our middle finger, so these 2 fingers, middle and pointer, are going to go over the thumb. And we want our middle finger to hit E. Our thumb can untuck, so our pointer finger can hit D, and our thumb can get to C. Let's look at that one more time. Once we get to our thumb, middle finger over, thumb can untuck, just like that. So our C major scale going up, tuck our thumb after our middle finger, and on the way down, bring our middle finger over our thumb. Now the left hand actually does the exact same thing, but it does it in the reverse orders. Meaning when our left hand goes up this way on the piano, if you notice our hands are mirrors of each other, I start with my pinky. So when my left hand travels up, I do what my right hand did going down, which is pinky, ring finger, middle, pointer, thumb. Now my middle finger crosses over, then pointer finger, and then thumb. And now on the way down, this is where I tuck my thumb after my middle finger. Thumb, pointer, middle, once again, same move. Tuck the thumb, turn the hand outwards, untuck the hand, and now you have the rest of the notes. So now we can play our left hand scale up, middle finger over, and back. Thumb underneath after middle finger, and there is our left hand C major scale. Now, when we put both hands together, it gets a little bit challenging as we have to do these different moves at different times. So there are 2 ways that we can play both hands together with the scale. We can play them in parallel motion, which is both moving in the same direction at the same time, or we can play them in contrasting motion, which is a little bit easier where the hands actually move in opposite directions, which allows the same finger movements to happen at the same time. I first want to show you the same direction at the same time, parallel motion. Now when we do this, we start both of our hands in a C position, and we play our first 3 notes with the fingers that are lined up. So in my left hand it'll be pinky on C, right hand it'll be thumb. We play our first 3 notes up to E. Now, this is where my right thumb needs to tuck, but our left hand doesn't need to do anything. So we want to make sure that we keep that pointer finger there on F. Now once my thumb tucks, I play together, right hand untucks. I need to finish my last note on my left hand here while my right hand is now set up. Now my left middle has to cross over, and my middle finger is already there on A, and we can play the rest of our scale. So that's our C major scale going up in parallel motion. Now when we go back down, it's just the opposite for each hand. My right hand is going to be already set to go all the way, and my left hand is going to need to tuck my thumb after my middle finger. So I start with C, come down to B, down to A, left hand's going to tuck, but I don't want my right hand to move at all. Keep the pointer finger on G, untuck the left hand. Now your left hand is set for the rest of the scale. There's F, we cross our middle finger over, and we have the rest of our scale. So you'll notice I took little breaks between those moves I had to make. Eventually, we do not want to have to make those breaks or hesitate. We want to be able to get there smoothly. So we should be able to go tuck the thumb, cross the middle, and then the opposite on the way back. Left hand, tuck the thumb, right hand, cross the middle. It's important to practice this slowly and with no hesitations, and then eventually add in the metronome to playing your scale. So I can do an example here of how I would play it with a metronome. I would put it at, let's say, 60 or 70. I'll start at 70 here. You can hear my metronome clicking here, and I just want 1 note per click. If you can do it comfortably at a speed like that, just keep moving up your metronome in 10 beats per minute. So from 70, I would move to 80, then 90, and then 100. And every time I get it correct, I just keep moving up by 10 so that I can keep building up speed with my playing. Now, if you really struggle to get both hands in the same direction, let me show you how we can do it in opposite directions. We can actually start with thumb on C and thumb on C. And now my left hand's going to work its way down this way, and my right hand's going to work its way up this way. Now when we set our hands up like this, because our hands are now using the exact same fingers, we tuck our thumbs at the same time. And then untuck. And on the way back, we play all of our fingers and cross our middle fingers over. So this is called contrasting motion, since our hands are moving in opposite directions of each other. This is a little bit of an easier way to play a scale because the movements, tucking the thumb and crossing the fingers, are happening at the exact same time. All right, so that is all for this first lesson. We learned a lot today. The following lessons won't be near as long because we're going to use these same concepts over and over again with our next lesson. So make sure to practice the C major scale. Get comfortable writing out your whole steps and half steps, your major scale formula, as we have here, and always write out your letters. It's really helpful to see it on paper and to write it out. And then, as always, practice your scales. Like I said, we want to remove those hesitations from our playing so we can smoothly play our scales. I will see you in the next lesson.